Alrighty, well, welcome back to another kind of biodiversity walk. Typically just looking at plants because that's what there tends to be the most of in these places. We are here at A.H. Reed Forest Reserve here in Whangarei. Beautiful place, lots of plants to look at, so without further ado we may as well just get straight into it. We've already got a Rhabdothamnus cylindrii over here, the kind of scabbard-leaved plant. Just above that we have a tawa tree. There's lots of tawa and terari here. Spotted a few terari seedlings. So this one here, let's get that to focus. There we go, so that, pretty sure it's a terari. You can usually tell because it's got kind of that vertical new leaf that's growing up and it's quite kind of fuzzy and a bit brownish in colour. That's kind of pretty typical of the Whangarei family, they've got that, but otherwise it does not look like an adult terari leaf. If you know what an adult terari leaf looks like, you would agree with me on that. Almost looks more like a Fuchsia excoriticata seedling, but that new leaf bud does not look like that of Fuchsia excoriticata. So, excoriticata? I think I'm saying that wrong. So yeah, pretty sure it's terari. Got some other little seedlings here, a tiny little Piper excelsum. And this one here is, I believe that's Hedycaria arborea, the pigeonwood. You can tell because it has opposite leaves. There you go. If the leaves were alternating, then I would probably assume that it is a toropapa, oak-leaved toropapa, Alciosmia quercifolia, but those opposite leaves give away that it is Hedycaria. And I've just spotted something else, just on this leaf here. That is a mayfly of some sort. I don't really know my bugs too well. I'll do my best to identify it once I get home. I'll get some good snaps of it and have a go at IDing. Alright, and we've got two species of Asplenium here that look quite similar, but definitely distinct species. So this first one here is the shining spleenwort, Asplenium oblongifolium, and then one that looks quite similar, still got that singly pinnate leaf structure, but this one you can see it's got quite kind of doubly serrated margins on those pinnae, if we can focus. There we go. And this is Asplenium polyodon. We've got a Caprosma here. This one is Caprosma autumnalis. Quite distinct because it has these huge leaves, but also the mottling on the leaves. I don't know if that's actually showing up on the video. There we go. So definitely very distinct mottling, which gives away the species there. So I did mention before with the Hedycaria seedling that the reason that I knew it was Hedycaria was because of the opposite leaf arrangement. But this one here actually has alternating leaf arrangement, but it's definitely not the toropapa, which I kind of suggested before. This one is a Melicitis ramiflorus. This is a Mahoi seedling, and the reason I know that is because the serrations are a lot finer. See, with Hedycaria and also the Alciosmia quercifolia, it's got kind of much bigger teeth along its margin. So yeah, fine teeth and alternating leaves is Melicitis. If it's opposite and deeper teeth, then it would be Hedycaria. But if it had those deeper teeth and alternating leaves, then it's most likely going to be the Alciosmia quercifolia. Hopefully that makes sense. Lots of little seedlings down here actually. This one here looks like another Melicitis. Got a few Melicitis around here actually. We've got a opposite leaved species here. This is Geniostoma ligostrifolium. And just another seedling here. This is definitely a Caprosma because it has those interpetiolar stipules at the base of the leaves there. Being quite small, it can be tricky sometimes to know what type of Caprosma it is though. But my best guess is that it is actually a seedling of the Caprosma autumnalis, just entirely based on the mottling of these leaves and kind of the longer length of them. Not 100% sure on this though, but yeah, it's definitely a tricky skill to acquire, being able to ID such tiny little seedlings, especially when you get down to things this small, because you don't really have much to work with just that. Again, maybe a Caprosma. I can't actually see. I'd need a hand lens at this point to see if it has stipules, but otherwise not too sure. Although some tiny seedlings are quite easy to distinguish. Like this here, you can probably guess already what it's going to be, and that is Piper excelsum. It's just got such a distinct leaf shape. There's not really anything else that it could be. We've got another one here which is also called Turepo. So you may remember the first one we looked at, the Rhabdothamnus salandrii, that was Turepo, but this one is Streblis heterophyllus, and it's completely unrelated to Rhabdothamnus, but it does somewhat look similar if you ignore kind of these lobed leaves. Some of the leaves are more regular looking, in which case it does look rather similar to that first species, but otherwise totally unrelated. Alright, and we've got another fern here. This one is Laestreopsis hispida. Pretty easy to distinguish from other similar species or closely related species is that the stipes are very hairy. There you go, you can see that against my finger there. Kind of these dark brownish hairs, or I believe they're technically what you call scales, but they look hairy. And also, additionally, we do have a fertile frond here. Hopefully we can pick this up on the camera. Got kind of these tiny little sories, and they're round, circular sori, and that's pretty typical of the Dryopteridaceae family, I believe this is. And yeah, I'll be honest, I am brushing over a lot of the species that we've already looked at in previous videos, such as Caprosma arborea. We've got a very strange looking Parsonsia heterophylla here. I don't know why it's gone this whitish colour, but definitely heterophylla. The New Zealand jasmine, Zealandia postulatum, the hound's tongue fern, Corinocarpus levigatus, Karaka, big tangle of supplejack around us. There are some leaves up there as well, but you never get good quality shots of the leaves, unfortunately. Didymacheton spectabilis from the Meliaceae family, kohi kohi. Some Nico palms, and yeah, lots to see, but we've seen them all in previous videos, so I'm kind of brushing over them a bit quicker than usual. We've got a Caprosma rhamnoides here, and of course, as usual, there's a Puridae with that typical palmately compound leaf. I believe that's Caprosma autumnalis, I believe. But I have seen some lucida around here. I think this is Caprosma lucida here. Yeah, and some classic climbing asparagus, as one would expect in a New Zealand forest. Here we go, and here is the Alciosmia quercifolia that I was talking about before, the oak-leaved torapapa. You can see this leaf is almost oak-leaved, but otherwise their leaves are extremely varied, and yeah, typical of Alciosmia, they always have these kind of very bent and scraggly stems that kind of just grow in whichever direction. And we do have a sedge here, Carex, and I wasn't actually sure what it was at first, to be honest. Haven't seen one like this before, but it turns out that I'm pretty sure this is actually Carex uncinata once again, because it has the seed heads that have the very long hook on them that will attach to your hairs on your arm. Let's see if we can get a better shot of those hooks on this hook grass. You should be able to see that. So yeah, I have heard that Carex uncinata has very variable leaf shapes, but I didn't expect it to come in such a thin leaf shape as this. So we've got this dead tree here, but it does have some shoots sprouting out from the bottom where it's obviously still got a living root system, and we've got these rather intriguing looking leaves here. And this is Maida salicifolia, the Maide, or one of the Maide trees. And yeah, you can tell that it's Maida and not nestigious because the leaves are arranged distichously along the stems. You can see they're only on kind of two sides the whole time. There's no kind of spiraling going on. And additionally, some of the leaves aren't perfectly opposite. You can see that these leaves are actually a little bit alternating, and there are some that are extremely alternating as well. I don't remember where I saw the alternating leaves, but yeah, so some alternating leaves and distichous leaf arrangement makes this one Maida salicifolia rather than nestigious. And it was obviously once a much bigger tree that has since died. Alright, so we've got another clematis here. I don't know if it's Clematis paniculata or one of our other species, especially without seeing the flowers, it makes it a bit hard. But yeah, pretty cool species. It's in the Whangarei family, which is the buttercup family, believe it or not. But yeah, there are some kind of resemblance to buttercup leaves if you look at the shape there, and also the flowers themselves as well, pretty similar, just typically bigger than buttercup flowers. Okay, well, we're looking into the top of a Freycinetia banksii. This is the kiki, and it's in the same family as the screw pines. And yeah, I believe they have separate male and female flowers. I'm guessing this is a male. I haven't had a close look, to be honest. I don't actually know what they look like, the difference between the male and the female for this. Got lots of them up here. Very unique. If you know whether it's male or female, please let me know. I'll have to look into that. And here's something cool. So this here is a flower of a Knightia excelsa in the Proteaceae family. So it's got these very kind of primitive, unique inflorescences. So there must be an adult tree up there somewhere. I believe it's that big one at the top there. It's such a unique flower. Well, I've made it up to a beautiful lookout here at the top of the walk. There's a big waterfall, and yeah, very nice. I have spotted I think it might be an Olearia, but it's right on the edge of the cliff face there, so I don't want to go any closer. Probably Acapero, but I need to get a bit closer to know for sure. Here's a new cool one that we haven't seen yet, Coprosma spathulata. You can see very clearly this spatulate shaped leaf where the lamina kind of continues down the petiole, so the petiole is almost kind of winged. And again we've got Pterophila silvicola, definitely not a Akama rosifolia because the stipules at the base there are nice and narrow. Remember, Akama rosifolia has broad, round stipules. Okay, so something to keep in mind when you're trying to ID a fern. One of the families, Aspleniaceae, which is just about entirely just Asplenium genus, on the undersides of their leaves they've got these long linear sori, which you can see here, which are their clusters of sporangia. And all of the species in this genus have these long linear reproductive structures. You can see here on this completely different looking species of fern here, you can see again we've got these long linear sori, so we can instantly know that this is also Asplenium. So we've got Asplenium flaccidum here and Asplenium oblongifolium. Okay, so we've got some more to talk about with the extremely polymorphic nature of the Alciosmia genus. So we've got here again Alciosmia quercifolia. This one's got much more obvious kind of oakish shaped leaves, but down here we've actually got a little seedling. Pretty sure it's Alciosmia, this one. Pretty certain, and probably still Alciosmia quercifolia, but it's got this time tiny little leaves, and it's growing at the base of this Coprosma spathulata. Same sized leaves, almost looks like it's trying to mimic the growth form of this Coprosma here. And then if we come down the hill a little bit, we've got another Alciosmia here with these long linear leaves, and I'm guessing that this is actually Alciosmia banksii, and not quercifolia. And we do have a flower here, which is quite cool. I'm just going to zoom in briefly. So I've got a flower here. I haven't actually looked into what the different Alciosmia flowers look like, so I couldn't tell you 100%, but I think it's typically the Whangarei species that has these longer linear shaped leaves. But yeah, this one kind of is giving off tall mingy mingy vibes to me. So interesting. It looks like we've got another seedling sprouting up here. Pretty sure this is another Alciosmia once again. Actually, it's probably coming off the same, yes, coming off the same stem actually, same plant. But the main thing I want to talk about with the quercifolia species is just how similar it looks to pigeonwood if you don't take notice of the alternating leaves. So you see alternating leaves? We've got a pigeonwood seedling just over here. And this one has opposite leaves, but otherwise could easily be mistaken for one or the other. So you always got to check the leaf arrangement. And if you don't know what leaf arrangement means, then make sure to check out my video all about leaf arrangement. And I just spotted this tiny little seedling popping up here. It's got opposite leaves, or opposite trifoliate leaves, so those are compound 3-foliate leaves, and this is Melicope ternata, which is in the Rutaceae family, which also happens to be the citrus family. The leaves do get a little bit bigger than this, but otherwise typically the same trifoliate shape, but the leaflets are typically pointed, so that looks like it's been chomped on by a bug or something. And again, just up here we've got another shape for our Alciosmia. Honestly, I don't know if this is going to be quercifolia or Whangarei at this point. There's just so much variation. Alrighty, so we've got another fern here. This is Hymenophyllum flexuosum, which is common name is the filmy fern, but I believe there's lots of different filmy ferns, but I'm pretty sure they're all in the Hymenophyllaceae family, which is known for having kind of 1 cell thick leaves. So the leaves are very thin, and you can see that they're actually almost see-through. You can literally see my skin color through the leaf itself, which is pretty crazy. But anyways, the way to tell that this is flexuosum is that the stipe itself, so the petiole at the base there, is very clearly winged, kind of all the way down. But otherwise, yeah, this species, same genus as the Hymenophyllum nephrophyllum, which is the kidney fern, which looks absolutely nothing like this one, which is pretty crazy, but happens to be in the same genus, so it must be closely related. It's a bit weird to think. It's just crazy how kind of varied ferns can be and still remain closely related. I guess it's similar to the Asplenium genus as well, where we saw the oblongifolium and then the Asplenium flaccidum as well, which look nothing alike, other than the sori, which is kind of the diagnostic characteristics. And I would imagine for these, the sori would be very similar between the groups as well. Here's another great example of what I was talking about at the beginning with the Terade seedling. Typical, I believe, of most Leraceae species is that kind of the young leaf shoots kind of stick up and they're pretty kind of fuzzy and brown. Pretty typical. So this is just an older Terade. So here's a cool example of the Knightia excelsa flowers before they open up. I've got one here that's partially opened. So you can see the top is still closed. The bottom has kind of started to show its flowers. Alright, well once again we've got another Asplenium here, and how we tell that it's Asplenium, you guessed it, it's got these long linear sori. So you can see one there, it's covered in these, but it's kind of hard to show them. You can probably see it a bit easier on the underside actually. There you go. So linear sori, and it's Gracillimum, not bulbiferum. Even though it does have these bulbils, it doesn't have very many of them. Asplenium bulbiferum has much more. This only has a couple, and also the colour is kind of a slightly different, and the stipe itself has tiny little scales on it which have kind of tufts of hairs sticking out of them, whereas Bulbiferum has just regular round scales on the stipe. I can't really show them. If I had a macro lens I'd be able to, but unfortunately I don't have one of those. But yeah, Asplenium gracilimum. And I always forget just how big the Schefflera digitata leaves actually get. I have seen them get bigger than this in the past, but still an incredible leaf. Very cool. Typical of me, I've been skipping over all of the podocarps that are in the canopy. So let's just cover those briefly. So we've got Dacrocarpus dicradioides, the kahikatea. There's definitely some totara up there. There's a rimu tree. And lots of Cody in this forest as well. Don't have any to point out to you at the moment, but yeah, definitely a lot of Cody. Lots of totara. That was the first rimu I've seen there. There's a few of them around though. And first kahikatea seedling I've seen as well. And some more conifers. We've got a Phyllocladus trachominoides, the tanikaha, and a seriously stripped bare mero tree, Pictanopides ferruginea, I think it is. Looks like it's lost most of its leaves, unfortunately. Hopefully that bounces back. Well, I found a fresh Freycinedia banksii flower, and I've pretty much confirmed that this is a male one, because if you touch it, and you pick up its pollen. So, yeah, there you go. Male kiki flower. Apparently the fleshy bracts around that are edible and taste nice. I don't know, never tried it. Alright, and we've got an Asteraceae here. This is Olearia ranii, or ranii, or rainii, I don't know. But yeah, pretty distinct. And as with most of these Olearias and whatnot, they've got the very white underside to their leaves. Tui hopping around in the tree up there. Very fun. And every time I look at this plant here, at first glance I think that it's a tall mingi, but it's definitely not. You look a little bit closer up the top here. You got the flowers. So again, this is an Alceosmia, probably banksii. And we do also have a Kama rosifolia here as well, alongside the Pterophylla silvicola. Look what happened here. The tree clearly grew around something, or got bent over and then grew back up straight. I believe it's a Phyllocladus trachominoides tree, the tanikaha. Well, I'm just a little bit confused because this looks like the Alceosmia banksii leaves that I was looking at before, but the flowers are looking different this time around, so I'm not really too sure what I'm looking at, because the flowers on the other one were pink, if you remember. I'm going to have to look into this when I get home. Anyways, that is enough for today. I've had enough of this taurapapa throwing me off and making me think it's something else entirely. Yeah, Alceosmia, bit of a nightmare. Anyways, that's all. Hope you enjoyed. I'll see you in the next one. Bye bye.